back, Vol fans, to another episode of Vols for Life podcast. And today we've got several things to talk about, including Vol for Life. But start off with some basketball news, some exciting basketball news, Bob. We're going to dive into a little something going on with the baseball program as well, some national football news, and some what I'm excited about more than anything, Bob. The former VFL had some very nice things to say about Nico.
Sure did, Tim. Before we dive into that, remember to like, subscribe, comment, hit that notification bell. All those things helped us tremendously, and the algorithm get us pushed out to other people so they can see our content and helps us. We appreciate you greatly. But let's dive into it, Tim. Jay Graham, former VFL, played here, coached here. He's coached all over the place. Like he said, he's seen plenty of great quarterbacks. He went and was on an interview here recently and was talking about how, he had heard about Nico, and the way he started it off was sounded like, I've seen
Well, it's no big deal.
no big deal. I've seen big time quarterbacks before, and
all the 5-star recruits.
He didn't seem pumped about that. Then he said he went to UT's practice to see Nico, and five passes in, and he's like, this guy's special. He can throw it. It comes off his hands different. He can run. I mean, he's like, this guy's going to be a top 10 pick in the draft.
Yeah. And, Jay, I've always liked Jay, but,
yeah,
sometimes you hear some people, putting the mustard on a little thick and everything. Yeah. But in that interview, like you said, man, he started out just just another 5-star guy. I've seen him a lot.
Right.
And what I like too, Bob, if you get national guys coming into the program, just watch some spring practice, you see former Vol come in, you hear a few things leak out from over there. I have yet to hear anything about Nico that hasn't been like, wow, this guy's different.
Yeah. And I tell you what, Tim, if that guy's different, I mean, if he's really as good as what we think he is, it's going to go a long ways in how good this Tennessee team is this year. We've discussed this before. What do you expect from Nico? I mean, how good a season is he? My point of view is I think, I've mentioned that people brought up Joe, Hendon, different people. I think we see 2021 Hendon Hooker this year, that kind of player.
And that's lofty expectations. I mean, he was mighty good that year.
And, and I think next year you see, the year after that, you'll see even better than 2022 Hendon Hooker. That's how good I think he will be next year. We'll see. But that's my expectation for him. I guess everybody has expectations for him, but that's what I'm thinking, this year.
Yeah, we'll see. It's all about getting your blue chip prospects. He's a 5-star, and they're not worth anything until they actually produce. But blue chippers has also made the national news this year, this month, whatever week, because the blue chip ratio index come out quickly. If you haven't heard of it, it's simply a thing of like, how many 4 and 5 stars do you have on your roster? Because this guy's done some deep diving, and there's not been anybody in the last 20 years to win a national title if you don't make the upper portion of that blue chip ratio,
right,
which is basically half your team being 4 stars, 5 stars. Unfortunately, Tennessee is not on that list right now.
Close.
Right outside the edge. And in fact, he did say that if there's anyone that's going to break that barrier, that the obvious choice this year was Tennessee.
Yeah, mainly because of Nico.
And what he mentioned that too, yeah. Quarterbacks make a big difference.
Right.
But we're very tight. Now, a couple of teams have made it that might be a little surprising. Florida.
Mm-hmm.
Napier's job's on the line. But there's one thing they're never really at a disadvantage for,
right,
and that's talent.
Yeah, they've got plenty of talent. But,
A&M,
mm-hmm.
Which shouldn't be a big surprise. I know a lot of them's left after Jimbo got fired,
Right.
but there's still a lot of talent down there.
Well, I mean, a couple of years ago, they signed what some people said was the best class of all time. I mean, that's how good it was. But now they've lost quite a few kids from that class. But you know, they've recruited very well.
Well, they have. Now, one thing this blue chip ratio doesn't take into account is transfers. He's got a separate one for it, but you really can't the whole transfer thing throws a wrench somewhat.
It does. I mean, this thing has been very accurate up to this point, but the accuracy of it to me is going downhill. And because, you know, Tim, you could get guys who leave your program who was high 4 stars, 5 stars, who transfer out because it's just not getting it done here. You know, and then you bring in a guy who was a 2 or a 3 star who played for Middle Tennessee State or some other small college who,
Well,
you know, slipped through the cracks.
NFL bound.
Yeah, NFL bound guys who come in, and your team definitely got better, but according to this blue chip ratio, it got worse.
Yeah.
So that's a flaw in their system. Because I mean, I'll take some of these guys who performed big time at a smaller school that was a 2 star over a guy who just never cut it and was never a hard worker.
Well, that's the whole thing. You know, there's bust and people exceed expectations.
Right.
And the transfer portal is actually allowing these guys to move to where they should really truly be.
Yeah, and I think this program has done a good job of evaluating players. You know, case in point here, Charles House. He was a 3 star for a long time. Us, Tennessee,
Georgia and
Bama after him hard. You know, I want guys like that are 3 stars. You know, and one of the issues I had with Butch Jones was seemed like he would go look at the Rivals or whoever's website and said, "Hey, this is guy's a 4 star. I think we might get him," and go after him. And,
because you get them against Louisville and
I mean,
Memphis.
He would see a high 4 star guy and say, "Hey, we got to go after this guy," even though Georgia and Bama, Ohio State, people like that wasn't going after him. We was fighting South Carolina or Missouri or Louisville or whoever for him. And that's because those other people that, you know, high profile coaches didn't see what, successful coaches didn't see what Rivals or whoever was recruiting these guys thought they was big time guys. So, so there is some very good 2 and 3 stars out there, and some of them slip through the crack, you know. But anyway, we'll see how that goes. Hopefully, we break that this year.
And another good recruiting class, which seems like we're going at, will probably put us into the blue chip index soon.
That's right.
Let's see, Bob. NASHVILLE also hit this week. College football has been patiently waiting for the return of the NCAA EA Sports game.
Yeah.
And it has got here, and it has peed in the Cheerios of a lot of ball fans.
Yeah, and that's not just, you know, Tennessee fans griping about it. There was a lot of national people who go.
Yeah, because normally, Tennessee fans get hurt pretty quick. I mean, we find a lot to get under our skin.
Yeah, me, man. I mean, yeah, I've got medication for that.
They don't make enough. Bob,
yeah, I get butthurt quick. But now, this was not just Tennessee fans, completely national people saying, "Hey, they kind of crapped on Tennessee, not in the ratings of the players, and
even
I mean, we weren't even in their top 15.
No, I think we was inside the top 15.
I mean, yeah, we was right, not inside the top 10. That's right. I mean, come on, man. I mean,
hey, when there's a big game over there, Neyland Stadium matches up with anybody in the country.
Anybody. I mean, for instance, they had Wisconsin in there, they had Oklahoma, and to mention Oklahoma, I remember a few years ago, before we played them, they come here. They was talking about the crowd noise, and they was like, "Man, ain't gonna be no big deal. We've played big time programs before, big stadiums." And then they come here, and the game was so loud that there's been like 2 or 3 articles written about how those guys said, wow, we'd never seen nothing like that, you know.
That's
So,
true.
so I mean,
blown
come
them
on,
away.
man. We're one of the top two loudest stadiums in the country, pure and simple. So, but I will say this. Those rankings come out, and EA Sports says they're going to do an update. From what I hear, an update before the game comes out here in about 3 weeks.
So before the season.
Yeah. And I think they're going to do an update possibly during the season. So hopefully uh, they'll correct that because they've got like Colorado, like a top 10 program in the country. Colorado's not going to have a winning season.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if Dion's on the board of EA Sports or something, but I mean, they had them like lights out. I'm like, come on, man.
Yeah, it was universal criticism across the board from everyone on that right there. But finally, Bob, let's go over to the baseball team. Tony B.
Right.
Probably have a new contract by the time you're seeing this right here.
We will. Probably will. You know, he's. I don't know if it will be the highest paid coach in the country because he will be up there though, and his assistants. The one thing he really pushed hard was his assistants make major money, but I'm sure Tony's going to be making huge money because for one, Texas A&M lost their coach, that douchebag coach. We'll talk about that. But apparently Texas A&M went hard and offered big time money to Tony.
Yeah.
Just yesterday.
Well, he did. I'm sure he left money on the table by telling them no, and he told them no pretty quick too.
Mm-hmm.
He's happy here. He's turned down about 3 jobs in the last 3 years for better programs mostly, historically,
Right.
anyway. But he's a VFL his own self. I think he's here as long as we want him.
Right. He's no what Jim Slossenberger or whatever his name is, right?
Yeah, whatever.
The guy, man, what a douchebag, man. The guy gets interviewed after the national championship game, and
He rates.
Yeah. The reporter that asked him about the rumor that he might be taking another job, and he talks about, oh, I come here to Texas A&M, I put my heart into it. I've come here to never leave this place, even though he had already accepted the job several days before.
Yeah.
Several days before.
Yeah, maybe even a week or two.
Come on.
Timeline's a little messy. There was even some accusations out there that he had been recruiting for Texas while still the A&M coach during the national championship game even.
All he had to say was, when the guy mentioned, hey, this is not the time for stuff like that. You know what I mean?
This is about my team. These kids.
This is about these kids, about this, you know.
Yeah. We can talk about something
Stuff
else
like that later, you know.
the day from now. This is all about my boys.
Yeah. I mean, that's all he had to say. But anyway, one other thing I was going to say.
By the way, too, though, before you do jump at that,
Yeah.
here's another thing he said one time. Afterwards, he said, biggest regret was sometimes things happen so fast, you don't get a chance to say goodbye to your team. So,
Right, when you're low on the plane.
yeah, he's on the bus, he's on the plane with these kids. He had time.
Yeah, I know it's just freak, man. But let me say one thing. I don't know how many ladies are on this podcast watching right now. I heard just today that Tony had said before that he was not going to have a girlfriend until he won a national championship. So apparently he's decided he's got time now. But
On the market.
and got plenty of money. Got plenty of money. Looks and money, women. I mean,
That's what brought him to be.
right. That's why you're right now, Tim. But the biggest news, Tim, to me, is what Rick Barnes said about Chaz Lanier. I mean, I had high expectations for this guy, but those expectations have went even higher now. Apparently, he's got a drill that he named after Kevin Durant because Kevin Durant's been the only one ever do it. It is where a kid will go to one spot, shoot the ball 10 times, and he's got to hit at least 9 of them. And he goes to 7 different stations he's got put out. He's got to do that. He's got to hit at least 9 at each one of them. KD, Kevin Durant's the only one that's ever done that drill for Rick Barnes.
Until now.
Until now.
Yeah, he was talking about how he puts these numbers up for multiple drills all throughout the facility to remind these guys they're not as good shooters as they all think they are.
I mean, we all know it. We've all played basketball some. We all had better percentage in our head than reality. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it don't matter if you're doing it at the park down below your house or you're doing it at the NBA stage.
Right.
You're not as as good as you think you are.
You're not.
And that's a good way to remind people what their true shooting percentages are.
Yeah.
And for Rick to talk about, well, not Rick to talk about it, but just the fact that Chaz could do this thing on his second attempt at doing it.
Yeah.
Speaks to what he may be bringing in.
You know, Tim, when we got Chaz in there, I heard several people, and I was probably one of them that said, and we did, I think we said on this podcast, this guy's not going to be another, Don't Connect. That was something that'll never happen again, And, after hearing that, man, it got me to thinking it's possible. I mean,
well,
as crazy as that sounds,
I do think you're a little crazy on that, Bob. I'll be honest.
I mean, when he
it's going to catch lightning in a bottle twice.
We may have though. I mean, this guy, kids put up big numbers at small schools all the time, and they never, become superstars. But sometimes they do. I mean, look at, Steph Curry. He put up huge numbers at a small school. So maybe, Chaz Lanier's Steph Curry.
Yeah, go ahead. You heard it first here.
That's right. Not only is that,
forget the Final Four. We're taking the NBA championship.
That's right. I mean, not only do I get butthurt over stuff, but I'm over exaggerating stuff.
But we've been. No, in all honesty, though, Rick Barnes looks like he's reloaded instead of rebuilt.
Yeah.
Chaz Lanier looks to be somebody that actually is going to come in and perform well, probably.
Yeah, I mean, and this team loaded up in the portal. I mean, I've heard really good things. The short time he was here before he went to the play in the for the Polish
national team,
Igor Milicic. I've heard really good things about him. They seem to be happier with him than what they even thought. And talk about that other metric, Tim, that talked about.
Oh, you mean the efficiency scoring?
Yeah.
Now, I don't know what all goes into the metric or how much I would agree with it, but according to the most efficient scorers in the country last year, we had one of them, Dalton, but the number 1 guy on there was Chaz Lanier, and the number 4 guy on there was Darlington Dubar.
Yeah, 2 guys on our team for this kind of season.
Yeah, so I think Rick, he's not going to take a big step back.
No, I mean, this team's got the talent to
make another run.
Yeah, to go to the ceiling. I mean, we'll see what happens. A lot has to go in. These guys have to mesh. Rick has to figure out how to place them. There's a lot goes into it, and I could see this team being good at the beginning of the year and being very good later in the year. This may be a team that just keeps getting better as the year goes on because of those things we just mentioned. Just trying to figure out who's going to, because a lot of these guys went from schools where they were
the guy.
How do that?
You have to readjust to a new role.
You do. I mean, you have to be that guy who's willing to make that pass, instead of jacking up a shot that you wouldn't.
Well, here's a good example, Bob. I don't think the Bescovy last year adjusted his role well. He actually over-adjusted because he knew I was no longer the guy.
He became too much of a player.
He became too much. He did not look for a shot at all.
Yeah.
And it affected him. So it's going to be it's going to take a good coaching job from Rick to get all these pieces put together.
That's true. But one good thing that makes me feel a little bit better about that is we have maybe the best point guard in the country. So maybe that guy
Well, that's a good start.
can figure it out, who to give it to and when to give it to him. Yeah. But with that said, guys, as always, remember to like, subscribe, comment, hit that notification bell, and more than anything, go Big Orange.
Go Vols, man.